My in-laws are both Eastern European immigrants who immigrated separately in their teens. They met in med school and are quite well off. The only financial help they've given their 4 kids is paying for their education. No help with weddings, home down payments, bills, etc., even though they can more than afford it. My wife Maria, 30 years old, is the youngest of 4 and the only one to not go to college. We married right after high school and I joined the military, so she's been a stay-at-home mom to our 3 kids. Now 10 male, 8 male, 6 female. Mother-in-law and father-in-law want to retire early, so they've been liquidating some assets. They wanted to make sure that my wife had no plans for college now that the kids are in school, before using her college money for retirement. Here's where the issue lies. I think my wife's college fund is in the hundreds of thousands. I also think it should go to our family. It was set up for my wife. Everyone contributed to it thinking the funds will go to my wife, and we are struggling. I'm out of the military and have a blue-collar job now, and with the high cost of living, we are going into debt almost every month. When I brought up that point, my in-laws said they thought about it, but are not going to give us any of the money. What they will do is to use it to support my wife and I going to college, getting certifications, and getting good jobs so we can make more money. Neither of us want to do this, and we shouldn't have to when my wife technically has all this money for her locked up in an account. My wife wanted me to leave it alone and not mention it to anyone since she thinks it's not her money and she won't use it for school. But I spoke to my family about it, and it has caused a huge divide in our families. My wife is really upset about me not keeping this information private like she asked. But my family and I are close and have no secrets. Her family are all so private they barely know anything about each other. I might be the a-hole here because it is my wife's family's business. But I think since we're married, we're all family anyways. OP sounds entitled. It's not OP's in-laws' fault that OP and his wife are broke. They're not an OP ATM. Since the money was really for their daughter's education and she doesn't want to use it for its intended purpose, they can do whatever they want with it. Suing in-laws will ruin a relationship, not just with them, but with his wife as well. OP's in-laws sounded very generous as they offered the money to send OP and his wife to college to get better jobs, which they both declined. This could have made a difference to their lifestyle. OP not going to win the case and only will make fun out of himself. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Zizin777 says, "You're the a-hole and so is your family for supporting it. It is not your wife's money and it is definitely not yours. It is her parents and they can choose to use it however they like. Sure, waste money trying to sue them for it. You won't win, and it will only end up costing you a lot of money in attorney bills. If you both are struggling financially, why are you both not taking them up on paying for you to get certifications for a good job? It sounds like they expect personal responsibility from their children, which is so lacking nowadays, as your actions just prove." Pumpkin Bubbles says, "You're the a-hole. The money was for college. Your wife chose not to go to college. The money stays with her parents to spend, save, or invest how they choose. Plus, your wife doesn't even want you to pursue it, yet you still want to justify your greedy plan." Thaddeus says, "You're the a-hole. It's not your money. It's not your wife's money. It's their money, and suing them will get you nothing but a broken family. You sound so entitled. Your in-laws might be a-holes. Helping your own kids with rules that leave one of them empty-handed is not a great parenting method and usually leaves some of the kids feeling like outsiders. But you don't come from a point of fairness in the relationship between your wife and their parents. You clearly came from a place of envy." Story 2. I want the money, and I'll preface by saying that my husband and my daughter, 18, Stacy, do not get along. They tried to get close, but it didn't work out and somehow things got worse between them after he allegedly accused her of taking his watch and selling it. Police were involved and she moved with her dad after paying my husband for the watch. That took place last year. She made a mistake, but she had her reasons. I asked Stacy to come join us for Christmas and have Christmas dinner with us since she will be moving away to study abroad. She agreed to come, but said she wouldn't feel comfortable sitting with my husband at the dining table. I tried to think of a compromise, but couldn't find one other than to ask my husband to eat his plate in the kitchen. He initially refused and sat at the dining table and had an attitude about it being his house, but I tried to explain how this was my last chance to spend Christmas with her, and it wasn't like I asked him to leave the house. I asked him again to get up and go eat dinner in the kitchen, but he refused. He said it's his house, and he gets to sit wherever he wants. I insisted, saying he was causing Stacy to get uncomfortable and cause a scene. He still refused and sat still. Next, I grabbed his plate and was going to take it to the kitchen, but he took it out of my hand and sternly told me it wasn't going anywhere. A big argument ensued, and Stacy and the family ended up leaving and dinner being finished before it even started. I argued with him about ruining my last Christmas with my daughter, but he went on about it being his house. I told him he escalated it and should have done this favor for me, but chose to act stubbornly instead. Needless to say, things have been tense since then. OP 18-year-olds don't get to set the rules at OP house. She should feel uncomfortable around someone she has stolen from. I think her husband was nice to even allow her to come back to the house. And no, he didn't ruin Christmas for refusing to be shunned to the kitchen. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Begorde says he allegedly accused her of taking his watch. Lady, if the police are involved and she pays for the watch, there's no allegedly. She stole and sold his watch and was caught. You're the a-hole. She stole from him and you are punishing him by her request. Wise passenger says, wait, if I understand correctly, she stole the watch and justified it as a mistake. Is that how it is? You're the a-hole. She stole from him and you thought he would be okay with sitting in the kitchen by himself to eat Christmas dinner. There are no good reasons to steal someone's property. GMU Virista says, you're the a-hole. You're excluding your husband from Christmas dinner because your daughter's mad he busted her for stealing his watch. That uncomfortable feeling Stacy feels is shame. Story 3. So my grandmother, 88, passed away in July after a short time in hospice care. While she was in hospice care, my aunt had made comments about wanting the house to be known as hers, but I brushed that off because it wasn't the time for that. I knew what was in the will because I was there when she revised it the first time when my Aunt Kathy died, and then was consulted again 2 years ago when my mother died, and she had to change it again. Both times, all that changed were names. When her daughters died, she changed their parts to their respective children, and a new executor was appointed. This last time, she felt she had to pick her only living daughter, but she wasn't sure she would be able to do the job, so she asked if me and my cousin would be okay with being backups just in case. So we were. Fast forward to when she died, and my aunt announces that she and her husband will be moving into the house and keeping everything exactly like it was. She also said she will not be paying any debts for my grandmother because that's just wrong. When I told her that's not how the will is written, she said that we can't find the will, but since she is the only surviving child, the house goes to her. She will split the land like she knew the will said, but that the house and all the belongings are hers now. Mind you, my grandmother is not even on the ground. We find the will, and it's like I thought. Everything is split in thirds, and if anyone wants to sell their portion of the house, it has to be offered to the family first at fair market value. And if someone wants it, they have to buy the other two parties out. The house sits on 1 acre separate from the rest of the acreage. We go see a lawyer and she says she will not be paying us and that honestly, it should be hers because she outlived my aunt and mother. Her husband and one daughter both agree with her wholeheartedly and I don't understand how we see it so differently. My grandmother revised the will twice in 4 years. If she wanted her to have the house, she would have done so. Now I'm being called greedy to my face and much worse behind my back and I don't know where to go from here. I'm in Texas if that makes any difference. Had it seemed to add that we have found copies of the will but not the original. She's also crying poor and not able to pay for probate, which is why I went to the lawyer with her. I wasn't going to give her money, but I would have helped her by paying him directly. That is until she acted like she did in there. I offered to let her live in the house and keep it all in our names till she passed, and then let all the grandkids sort it out. Her husband hated that idea. I also offered her to trade some of the 18 acres that she's inheriting, and that made her super mad. OP's aunt is trying to steal from OP if she moves in. She will not move out. OP needs to go to the lawyer on her own. She can and will call OP all sorts of bad names, but she is the one who is trying to steal. So OP should just forget her feelings and contact a lawyer, and only use a lawyer to communicate with her. Crystal Crone says, I just love the irony when greedy people call other people greedy for blocking their greed. Not the a-hole, but your aunt is a big greedy one. As you said, your grandma revised the will multiple times, and if she wanted your aunt to get the house, she would have, and you need to tell her that. She probably knew that was going to happen, which is why she kept saying we can't find the will. She was probably hoping you'd go ahead and give her the house before the will was found. And at that point, it would have been, oh, he's too late, I already live here. It's absolutely horrible that she thinks because she outlived her sisters that their children shouldn't get anything. Your grandma knew she was going to be like this and that's why she revised the will twice. Just block her and insist on going through lawyers. Cat G913 says, it doesn't matter what your aunt or anyone else thinks in regards to your grandma's house. It was your grandma's to do with as she wished, period. Not the keyhole. Just a Florida mom says, not the keyhole. Your grandmother updated her will often enough that you can be assured she wanted it just as it stated. She probably didn't like your aunt enough to want to give it all to her. Or, like my mother, she split it evenly amongst her children, and when those aren't available, she passed it down to those children's children. In other words, each branch of the family got the same amount out of her sense of fairness. Story 4. My ex-husband and I got divorced years ago. We shared custody of our 2 kids, 9 and 12. I got remarried to my current husband. He adores the kids so much. However, he always struggled with his overprotective, jealous attitude when it came to the kids' father. Their father passed away suddenly days ago, and the funeral was yesterday. My husband didn't want the kids to be there without him. He asked if he could come to support them through the service, and I agreed. We got to the funeral, and we were able to stand near my former in-laws and the relatives. So what happened was that my husband started having random conversations with them. He basically talked about how close he is to the kids, and what he does with them, and how much he spends time with them. My former mother-in-law side-eyed me. For some reason, I told my husband to stay quiet, and he did. Moments later, after my daughter started sobbing while hugging her aunt and uncle, my husband muttered something, then pulled my daughter to his side and said to me, "Hey, at least now we won't have to worry about who's going to have the children for Christmas, right?" I was stunned. My former brother-in-law stared at us both, and the former mother-in-law and her daughter put some distance. I was floored by what he said. He said it loud enough that the other guests heard. I immediately pulled him close and whispered to him to leave. He tried to argue, but I insisted he leave. He left and then later threw a fit saying that I shouldn't have kicked him out like that. I told him he made an insensitive comment, which he called just him being realistic and straightforward. He said I made a scene in front of everybody, preventing him from supporting the kids, which is the reason why he came in the first place. Now he's saying that by having him leave in the middle of the funeral like that, I confused the kids and sent them the wrong message. He's expecting an apology from me also. Am I in a hole? I have a crazy family, not the a-hole. Your husband seems to be weirdly jealous of a dead person and felt no shame trying to one-up this person at their funeral. Dear OP, your husband could benefit from some therapy to deal with his feelings, and this could severely impact your children. Hot Currency 1881 says, not the Yahoo, your current husband will now take the opportunity to try and erase your ex-husband, your children's dad, from their lives. This is appalling, and I strongly suggest you nip this in the bud immediately. Wild Feral Fun says, your husband is a sad excuse for a stepfather. You have a lot of damage control to do with your ex-in-laws, and his stunt is a majorly poor reflection on you. You brought this a whole to their loved one's funeral, who effectively announced that in the death of your children's father, he sees many bright sides for himself. You question why your ex-mother-in-law side-eyed you. Get real. You picked this guy and thought him suitable for this funeral. Your ex-mother-in-law has every reason to wonder what epic crap show is going to be going on in her grandchildren's home now that her beloved son can't fight about the BS your whole husband creates in their lives. My female 24, Sister Lee, female 27, is 4 months pregnant with her first baby. Her husband works in the Merchant Navy and left a month ago. Few facts about us. We have a good relationship normally. We're not super close, but no issues either. Just living our own lives. She does not drive. It's too much work and makes her anxious. It used to be fine since she usually works from home and goes out only once every couple of weeks for grocery shopping or for client meeting. But since her husband left, she's been calling me to go hang out with her. We live 30 minutes away. She wants me to take her baby shopping, furniture shopping, help remodel her home, bring her out whenever she has cravings, rub her foot, help her with chores when she is too tired, etc. I don't want to. First of all, shopping has never been my thing. Walking for hours looking at different things is just exhausting to me. I'm an internet buyer. I told her that she can maybe ask one of her friends. But since she basically was borrowed at home for the past 4 years, she's not in touch with her friends. Our parents live 3 hours away. I told her she can wait and take mom with her then. She wants me to drive mom here since mom refuses to take public transport or drive here. Dad does not want to drive her here on his off days. I said it's the same for me. I don't want to spend my off days driving them around either. Mom would not stay here since she has work back home. I'm already the one taking my sister to her appointments. I don't want to spend my life helping her with her pregnancy and her baby. Let's be realistic. Her baby daddy will be at sea 8 months a year. She will need help. I suggested she move back near our parents so she has support. She is refusing to and is asking me to move in with her to help her. I said no, I have my own life. She and mom are forcing me to reconsider, saying she is my sister, family helps family, and it takes a village to raise kids. I told her she decided to have a baby, and her baby is not my responsibility. She is super mad at me and calling me selfish. Am I in a hole? Professor Plum did it, says, not the a hole. And I tell your mom that she can move in with your sister if she wants to, but she has no right to expect you to give up your life because of your sister's choices. Waiter man says, too nervous to drive but okay to have a child. The poor kid hasn't been born yet but already needs therapy. Not the a hole. You get to decide how involved you are as an aunt. Doing chores now equals doing chores forever. See Firefighter says, not the a hole. She chose to have a baby knowing her husband's job would take him away. She can get back in touch with her friends. Tell your mom and sister you have moved out of that village. Wait, she is only 4 months. The time to get tough is now before you become a nanny in residence.